We're now in the El Paso County Courthouse in El Paso, Texas.
All right.
Please be seated. The record should reflect the attorneys for the state, the attorneys for the accused are present in the courtroom.
The man.
So this is clearly a big deal because that courtroom is packed. You only see that on something that's got some notoriety to it and is very serious.
You see here is 41-year-old accused of killing 2 teens in 1993 when he was just 16. At that time, without an attorney or his parents present, says he was coerced by an El Paso detective into confessing to the murders.
That's not unheard of, and that does happen.
Despite recanting the confession hours later, it became a key piece of evidence for the prosecution.
The court has received a message from the jury.
So 16 to 41, that is 25 years.
Indicating that they've reached a verdict.
Villegas has been on trial 3 separate times for this crime and has maintained his innocence throughout.
Let's bring the jury in.
His first trial in 1994 ended in a mistrial due to a hung jury. A 1995 retrial ended with a conviction for capital murder, and Villegas was sentenced to life in prison. After spending 18 years in prison, that verdict was thrown out in 2013 because of ineffective assistance of counsel. Villegas was released in January of 2014 and has remained out on bond as he awaited a 3rd trial. During that time, he fathered 2 children. Though the prosecution continued to insist on his guilt, there was no DNA, no firearm, and no forensic evidence presented linking Villegas to the shooting.
If the defendant will please stand.
Within moments, he'll find out if he goes home with his family or spends the rest of his life in prison.
In the District Court of El Paso County, Texas, 409th Judicial District, the State of Texas versus Daniel Villegas, number 94-0D09328. Verdict form B. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty of...
For the first time since he was 16 years old, 25 years ago, Daniel Villegas is a free man.
Wow. So that's deep. That's intense. There are a lot of people who have been freed by DNA evidence, for example. One of my mentors from law school actually worked on that project and has quite a few people that were innocent and wrongly convicted that have been freed. And so if he really is innocent, and the 12 jurors in El Paso of his and our peers have said that he is, then God bless him, and poor guy if he was wrongfully convicted. That sucks. That's why the process of going through the legal system correctly is so important, because there are people that will just, whatever it is that they think that you want to hear. And especially when you got a kid like 16 years old and in with the police are sitting there. They can trick you. It's legal for them to lie to you. That whole thing of, well, if you're a police officer, you have to tell me whether you are. That's not true. That's nonsense. The Supreme Court of the United States has said that the police can actually lie to us. And we can't lie to them, but they can lie to us. And so it's really if an innocent person is convicted. So if he really is innocent and this is justice served, God bless him. And I feel really bad for whoever the victim of that crime was, because that crime apparently was committed and somebody did it. It just sucks if they had the wrong guy. And another problem with getting a confession from somebody who is not the person that did it is that they stop looking for the actual murderer. So that means that this crime was never actually solved, and which is another tragedy. That's why things have to be done the proper way, and that's why we have a system.
Conditions in this court. You are no longer under any conditions in this court. You are free to leave. Good luck to you.
Now we head to Cleveland, Ohio, to the Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court for the sentencing of convicted serial killer. Has been convicted on 3 counts of aggravated murder for the killing and mutilation of 3 young women in Ohio. As part of the hearing, the father of one of Madison's victims steps up to the podium to make a victim impact statement. Mr. Terry is now just a few feet away from the man who so brutally took the life of his daughter.
I have seen some of these. I don't do criminal law. I do family law. And a lot of times we watch stuff like this happening while we're waiting, because in Collin County, a lot of our courts are general jurisdiction. So they'll have a criminal case and then they'll have a family case. And man, these things just tear you up.
Right now, I guess we're supposed to, in our hearts, forgive this crime. We've touched our families, taken my child.
He's looking directly at.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that happen. So he smiled at him. Wow. You know, things like that make you realize good. And he's not an innocent person, and he should be going to jail. And to smile at him, I understand why the man did that. I hope that the judge doesn't try and hold him in contempt or anything like that. And I hope that this doesn't, well, it's in the punishment phase, so the jury's out. And so hopefully this doesn't cause a mistrial. I doubt it would, but man, terrible.
Is released without charges. A short time later, County Judge Nancy McDonald hands down sentence. Is sentenced to death and will now live on Ohio's death row. We start things off at the Russell and Wayne County's family court in Kentucky for a hearing on a domestic violence order filed by a husband against his ex-wife.
So this is my area of law right here. Let's see what happens.
The respondent were married in the past and have children in common, correct? And were the statements you made in your petition true and correct at that time?
So the husband ex-husband is asking for a protective order against the wife.
Willing to make those statements part of your sworn
I have a feeling that this wife is about to get out of control.
testimony here today? And are you asking the court to enter an order restraining the respondent from any contact with you? I've taken your statements in your petition as part of your testimony, but I need you to tell me briefly, in your own words, what happened to cause you to ask for a domestic violence order.
Yes, Your Honor. Things have been escalating, I guess, since the first of the year. And Liz has had a couple MIWs and a couple arrests. And she got out of jail in, I guess, April. And she started, we hadn't really had anything personal up until that point. She got out of jail in April. And she started.
My personal life.
No.
So she's definitely got some impulse control issues. To be speaking when it's not your turn and to interrupt, that is a no-no, big time.
It has nothing to do with
Miss,
No.
you will be held in contempt of this court if you become
I don't
disruptive.
care. I haven't done anything to
The I don't care if I will be held in contempt, you're going to see what the prison cell looks like.
this court. I haven't done anything to
Okay.
him.
She'll be
It
arrested
doesn't
for
make-
contempt of
It doesn't
court.
make any difference.
Exactly. Boom. There she is.
Serve 10 days for contempt of court. Go now.
Now she attempts to assault the judge. She's going to be in there a lot longer than 10 days.
Hands behind your back.
Bitch, wait and see.
Oh, and talking smack, too.
Get my way.
Following bad with bad and then some more
After spending
bad.
nearly 5 months in jail, Melissa Hardwick pleads guilty to intimidating a participant in a legal process. She avoids any further jail time by agreeing to a court-ordered diversion or rehabilitation program for 5 years.
Well, that's a good thing for her because she needs some kind of counseling. I don't know if keeping her in prison is going to make her any better or not. I think it would probably make her worse. So to go through some intense counseling and having to have her be on her best behavior was probably best for everybody. But she did do 5 months, which is probably what you would be doing if you did that to any of the judges around here.
The protective order will remain in place of no contact.
Next, we head to the S. James Foxman Justice Center in Daytona Beach, Florida.
All right, so come on up.
The woman being sworn in is 18-year-old Keandria in court today to receive a sentence for using a dating app to set up a robbery that ended with another teen being shot. The teen survived. Has accepted a plea deal that will drop a conspiracy charge, which carried a maximum penalty of life in prison. But counts of carjacking, attempted carjacking with a deadly weapon, and felony battery are still in play.
All right, come on up, Mr. You get to say the final word.
I just want to say that I'm sorry to the people wrong that her son had been shot because I didn't even know he was going to get shot. My boyfriend and his friends get trained to do this. I didn't even know what was going on until I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. I just want to say that asking for forgiveness as much as I get a chance so I can get out and finish school and I get my mama proud because I want to be her first child to bring her from high school diploma. And I just want to make my mama proud. That's it.
Now prepares to hear her sentence.
So, I mean, that's probably okay. Not the best one I've ever heard. Not the worst one I've ever heard. It just depends on, especially if she's getting a deal or something. Now, there are times when judges don't have to accept those deals. And so I don't know what's going to happen here.
Loved ones look on.
Ms. Cook, you're before the court for sentencing. A couple of things going in your favor. One, you didn't hold a firearm during these episodes. The second is that the victim luckily survived. That being said, this was intentional. It was an orchestrated ambush, and you are a main part of that. And for that, I'm going to go ahead and adjudicate you guilty of all 3 charges, sentence you to 20 years in state prison.
Now, I have seen this right in front of me sitting in the court to the level that I thought it was going to be a problem. I have seen exactly this when someone was sentenced to 5 years. She was just sentenced to 20.
Concurrent as to the first 2 counts.
The crying you hear is coming from Cook's mother. The sentence much more severe than they expected.
Charges.
But I don't know. Is he probating it, or is she going to have to serve 20?
All fines and costs.
It turns out that Cook and her mother's reactions were so intense because they believed the plea deal meant no prison time. Judge Foxman allows her to enter a new plea deal, citing miscommunication between Cook and the assistant public defender. As a result of that new deal,
I think you got good in you, and I think you got potential. Don't lose sight of that.
Cook's sentence is reduced to 11 years in prison.
That's unusual that that'll happen. I could see that, and there must have been a lot more that must have happened, like an appeal or an ineffective assistance of counsel type of thing, especially if they had no idea that she was going to be there for 20 years.
Charges assault and resisting. You have the Mr.
Where public defender Andrew Weinstock and his client are appearing before Judge whose voice you hear.
Defender, what do you want to do?
But they fought.
They have.
I'm not waiting.
All right. What do you want to do?
What do you want to do? I'm not waiting. You want to set up for trial? Set up for trial.
Judge Murphy wants the defendant to waive his right to a speedy trial because the court's schedule's backed up. Weinstock isn't budging, and tensions are mounting.
If I had a rock, I would throw it at you right.
Why are so many people moving around in this courtroom?
Stop pissing me off. Just sit down. I'll take care of it. I don't need your help.
No,
sit
you know
down.
what? I'm a public defender. I have a right to be here, and I have a right to stand
I said
and represent
sit
my
down.
clients.
If you want to fight, let's go out back and I'll just beat your ass.
Okay, that would be, judge would be off the case for sure, off any cases with that attorney, and probably sanctioned by the Judicial Conduct Board.
They both head to the hallway behind the courtroom, just out of the view of the court's cameras. Believe it or not, they get into a physical altercation until Judge returns to the courtroom alone.
Thank you.
I will catch my breath.
Why would people in the courtroom be applauding the judge? The defense attorney was just doing his job. I don't get it.
Eventually. Man, I'm an old man.
Once Judge Murphy catches his breath, he continues with the rest of the hearings without Weinstock present.
Your choices, considering there's probably going to be a changeover in personnel, are setting it for trial June 9th, or if you were wanting to waive speedy, we would set it for July 15th.
I would like to get it done as fast as possible.
That doesn't help me.
The incident's investigated by the Florida Judicial Qualifications Commission, who charged Judge John Murphy with threatening to commit violence against an assistant public defender, engaging in a physical altercation with counsel, and presuming his docket while defendants were without counsel.
Extremely serious.
The case eventually reaches the Florida Supreme Court, which orders the immediate suspension and permanent removal of Judge Murphy from his post.
Yep. And I bet that those cases that he did for the rest of the day all got overturned in some kind of manner. Not good. Because if some of those people were guilty and had committed crimes and went through all that, then they're walking probably scot-free because of that stuff. Cannot do that stuff. Cannot.
We're at the Lewis County Courthouse in Chehalis, Washington, in the courtroom of Judge R.W. Buzzard, who's just finished some business with the four...
His name is R.W. Buzzard? That's... Is he a scavenger? That's an interesting name. I mean, look, I grew up with the name Dana. I can make fun of other people's names. Mine, you know, I like it now, but in 8th grade I got the snot beat out of me.
Four defendants to the right. This is who's charged with reckless driving and driving with a suspended license. This is Cody Howard, who's charged with second-degree burglary, first-degree trafficking and stolen property, third-degree driving with a suspended license, and 2 warrants for failing to appear in court. Neither of them feel like sticking around. Judge Buzzard springs into action, and it's on.
You don't mess with a
Keep in
buzzard.
mind the 2 escapees are in handcuffs and prison-issue sandals.
That's why they make you wear those sandals.
A witness points the judge in the right direction, as does this bright orange clue here. They've made it to the 3rd floor stairwell.
I am shocked that this judge is chasing after him himself and catching him.
And now to the 2nd, just 1 floor away from freedom. But Judge Buzzard is gaining some ground, especially on the one who lost his sandal. The judge tackles the lagging defendant just outside the exit to the building. 2 deputies catch up moments later and bring him back to a cell. The other defendants picked up just a few blocks away.
The judge still has his
Both have
tie on and
second-degree
everything.
escape added to their charges. What were these 2 thinking? Glad you asked.
They're not
We were sitting
thinking.
there on the benches together,
They're
and
really...
he's like, "I'm gonna run."
I said, what am I doing? What did I just do? I gotta go with it now. There's nothing, I can't stop right here. There's nothing I can do now. I'm screwed.
I only get like 4 blocks, and then I stopped. Like, I just stopped on my own. I'm like, what am I doing right now? It was just a split-second, like, decision. I don't even know why I did it. Like, I would be out of here if I wouldn't have ran.
Impulse control, guys. You got to have that impulse control. You got to be able to control yourself.
I didn't try to escape to get out. I tried to escape to get well, and I tried to do what I could, do what I could do to get my drug addiction.
Don't do that.
We head now to Jackson, Michigan.
To the
I hope
4th
those
Circuit
guys are
Court.
better.
A personal protection violation hearing is on against this man. The defendant's accused of sending unwanted advances through Facebook messages to this woman seated here. This incident's a violation of a restraining order against All those messages were like, wow, were like last year. How many of them were after? How many of them were after the PPO? 22. I don't post on that much. What's that? I don't post on that much. This is the 2nd time the judge has questioned the defendant about his contact with the plaintiff.
So I don't post on it that much. You may as well have just confessed. I mean, that's pretty close to a confession.
In fact, the same judge had issued the defendant's original PPO 4 months earlier. Yeah, I know, but it's like saying like trashing that stuff that I warned you about last time. I told you, just leave her alone. She was a classmate of yours. She apparently has no interest in seeing her telling me leave her alone. You know what? I told you to leave her alone.
Yeah, if the judge tells you, that's good enough. That's all you need. In fact, it's more important if a judge tells you than if they tell you. If somebody tells you to leave him alone, leave him alone. I mean, this guy's in his own world, and he needs to wise up.
Apparently that didn't get through loud and clear. So today, you're going to jail for 3 days. And the next time you violate, you're going to jail for... You know what? You got a bad attitude. You had a bad attitude last time you were in court. Okay?
You and her are buddy-buddy. Y'all get along. Y'all are...
45 days county jail.
Yep.
93 days in the county jail. You want to go for a year? Try it right now. One more word on you, it'll be a year of county.
Over Facebook. Really?
Over violations of my PPO and your conduct in the court. 93 days in county.
The judge, clearly agitated by the defiant defendant, is sending him to jail.
I never threatened.
Stand up. Come. Stand up.
Buddy.
Stand up. You're going to jail for a year in the county. 365 days county jail. Appeal it.
I will.
Good. Put your hands behind your back now.
I'm going to leave you alone. I'm going to leave you alone. Tell me right now.
Put your hands behind your back.
Why do you think that she's in court to have a judge issue an order that you have to leave her alone? Is that not a clear enough message that you should leave her alone? Don't do this stuff, guys. Or gals.
Put your hands behind your back. Take his ass right now.
The judge now steps in to help subdue the defendant.
We'll make it 93 if you can think about it. All right. Over Facebook.
He actually has it would get another charge right here of resisting arrest, which he could go, I mean, a lot longer than a year.
In the community. Get to know you all too much. 93 days.
Larson sentenced to 93 days in county jail.
What happened to the year? I guess he went back on that. Something about his behavior entitled him to take the extra time off. I don't get it. I don't see a lot of judges doing that, but okay. That poor guy. I mean, that's a guy you got to pray for, and hopefully he gets his life together and can figure it out. But man, that's sad.
Stand up and raise your.
And at that point, even if she would have said, "Leave me alone," I'm sure she said, "Leave me alone" a bunch to the guy, and he wants to hear it from her. And then if she did, it would be something else. The guy, he would have had some other reason. So for everybody that's out there, it's like, why didn't you just tell him right there, leave him alone? I'm sure she has. By the time you get into court, it's gone way beyond that.
Right hand to be sworn, please. Please stand up.
Next, we head over to the Miami-Dade Bond Court in Miami, Florida,
The one sleeping there, you can wake up too in the back row.
where Judge Mindy Glazer is overseeing bond hearings.
I have a few announcements. I'm going to appoint a public defender to represent all defendants unless you tell me you have money to pay for a private lawyer or if you are hiring a private lawyer and one is here. Also, please let me know if you have served in the United States military or any of the reserves. Good morning. Good morning.
Over the next few hours, she'll see dozens of defendants.
You were arrested for second-degree murder.
Whoa. As they step in,
I'm in the military, Your Honor.
You are?
And quickly step out.
Hi, Mr. How are you?
How you doing, ma'am? Okay, ma'am.
49-year-old a career criminal, charged with burglary, grand theft, fleeing, and resisting arrest.
You have actually 3 arrest affidavits. Reckless driving, damage to property, leaving the scene of a crash with serious injury.
With no serious injury.
I'm sorry, no serious injury.
Okay.
After questioning, Judge Glazer explains the terms of his bond.
The bond on count 1 is $7,500.
But the judge notices something familiar about this defendant.
Okay, Mr. I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go to Nautilus for middle school?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I'm sorry to see you there. I always wondered what happened to you, sir.
Oh my goodness.
This is the nicest kid in middle school.
Oh my goodness.
He was the best kid in middle school. I used to play football with him and all the kids, and look what has happened. I'm so sorry.
Oh my goodness.
The surprise.
God, this one tears you up. Because what gets to somebody to that point when they were such a good kid? And psychologically, look what's happening to him. I mean, he realized that something took him back. I would just pray that this is the moment that he turned his life around and can come back from that. Tough. Very heavy.
His reunion between the two former middle school classmates is almost too much for Booth to handle.
Oh my goodness.
Once a promising student, Booth fell into drug and gambling addictions that led him
There
into
it
a
is.
life of petty crime.
And you know, a gambling addiction, if you could just only have taught him about money and how to invest and how to handle his money from a young age. If he had gone to Financial Peace University by Dave Ramsey and learned that. Unfortunately, his middle school, they should have taught that. Because maybe then he would realize gambling is not the way that you earn a living. And if you got something to live for and a good future and things around you, then you're not going to be looking to drugs to help you escape from that. Giving people a good purpose in life or having and finding your own purpose. It's just, this guy's story is so sad. This one is truly heartbreaking and touching. I feel so sorry for him, but I'm so hopeful that maybe he's got it turned around now.
Resulting in multiple stays in prison.
Oh my goodness.
Good luck to you, sir. I hope you're able to come out of this okay and just lead a lawful life.
The reunion somberly concludes as Glazer sets bail at $43,000.
Okay. All right. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Is sent to prison for 10 months and then released into a drug treatment program.
I hope he makes it. Those are the kind of stories that leaves me speechless.
At a traffic stop 2 months earlier, received citations for speeding and simple possession of marijuana. As he walks up to the podium, Judge Haywood Barry's informed that has a special request.
I spoke to Mr. He said he wants to represent himself in this case. I told him today.
Is this the dude who, as a protest against the law of marijuana, he's about to spark up a joint in court, which is an incredibly bad idea. Don't do that.
If he was guilty, not just that day. To which he responded, I just want to plead my case to the court. So he didn't want to talk to me after that, so that's why she was started talking, son.
Yes, sir. I think it's very unfair, the marijuana law here. I think we the people deserve better because marijuana is a very harmless drug, and it's been around for ages, since the 80s and 90s.
I've heard that baloney all my life, so don't go any further on that.
Yes, sir.
I don't know whether it's good or bad. All I know is Tennessee still has it against the law. I swore to uphold the laws, and I have to uphold the laws as a judge. It probably is unfair, but I can't change it. You've got to go see the legislature to get that change.
Yes, sir.
And if you get a change,
Judge Barry quickly returns to the matter at hand.
Now, if you want to plead guilty, you can today. But if you want a trial, we can give you a trial on the officer's date, which is Officer Vincent.
Officer Vincent?
You want to fix trial date?
Yeah, we can do that.
That'd be fun, and then you make another speech.
As the judge works with court employees.
So what he could have done is take this to a jury trial and try and make that argument to the jury. It's called jury nullification. And what it does, if you can get these jurors onto the jury, because the prosecution is going to ask them, how many of y'all think that marijuana should be legal? Everybody who raises their hand, the prosecution is going to try and strike everybody off there because they know, hey, those people might let this guy off even if he is guilty because they don't think that this should be a crime, and they're going to try and not convict him. But if you get some of those people onto the jury, then you might have a chance of convincing them with this argument. But I have a feeling that this is about to go not that way for him.
To schedule a trial date and decides to take action as he pulls out what appears to be a joint. No one seems to notice until, shockingly, he lights up. And this time it's noticed immediately.
Hey, we the people deserve better.
And may have finally pleaded his case.
Hey, we the people deserve better.
But he's immediately taken away by the court officer.
And now you have another crime against you. Possession of marijuana. You might have another charge of smoking in the courthouse because any type of smoking, whether it's marijuana or cigarettes, is probably illegal or against some kind of ordinance in that courthouse. Might be against multiple ordinances. And it's just not a good idea to protest like that. He could try to argue that this is political speech and protected. That argument's probably not going to go there. It is political speech. That's literally what he is doing. And speech can be an act. That's an act of protest, is what he just did. Is that going to be effective? No. Is he going to have to pay the price for that? Yes. I'd love to know if they followed up and found out what happened to that guy.
And Judge Barry gets the final word.
Take you to jail.
Slapping with a disorderly conduct charge, as well as another charge of possession.
And contempt of court.
We're in the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice in Detroit, Michigan, for the sentencing of 25-year-old.
There's a lot of things that you can do, and your life doesn't have to be over because of a poor choice. You just have to accept responsibility for it and find a way to make something positive out of a very negative situation.
Been found guilty of driving under the influence, causing a head-on collision that killed 31-year-old.
Oh my God. This is exactly why you don't drive drunk. Oh my God.
Severely injured his fiancee, 31-year-old. The couple have 5 children together. Prior to sentencing, the court will hear a powerful impact statement from the victim's children, read by his sister.
Look what you did to my life. You ruined everything I had, like my dad's life.
That seems devastated by Green's words. But Judge Kiana Lillard apparently hears some snickering from family sitting in the gallery.
You can go too. Whoever can sit here at a tragic moment like this and laugh and smile when somebody has lost a family member, this is a court of law. You cannot come down to the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice and act any way you want to act.
Exactly. That is extremely disrespectful.
That's the defendant's mother.
Because if you don't know how to act, you can go to jail. Ma'am, you are being taken into custody for criminal contempt. Your disruptive and disrespectful behavior disrupted today's proceedings.
Did she just give the bird to
ma'am,
the
are going to
judge?
the Wayne County Jail for 9.
Did she give the bird to the judge?
That's the defendant's mother.
Because if you don't know how to act, you can go to jail. Ma'am, you are being taken into custody for criminal contempt. Your disruptive and disrespectful behavior disrupted today's proceedings, and you, ma'am, are going to the Wayne County Jail for 93 days for direct criminal contempt. Anybody else want to go? Try it.
As Al is led to the county jail,
By the way, see how she's dressed? Do not dress like that to go to court. Do not dress revealing like that to go to court. That's also looked at as disrespectful. You want to dress very conservatively.
Judge Lillard offers a stern reminder about etiquette in the courtroom.
These are very serious matters, and I understand you all are upset because your loved one is going to prison, but guess what? She's going to prison for the choices that she made.
That's right.
After orders restored, sentenced.
It'll be the sentence of this court that you will serve 3 to 15 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections.
3 to 15. That's a heck of a long sentence, or not long, but wide discretion. I thought the judge was supposed to pick the exact sentence. Maybe in this state it's different, but
If there's nothing further, that concludes this matter.
Al only serves 3 years and is then paroled in February 2020.
So 3 years would be the earliest that she could be paroled, and they might not parole her until 15. It's up to the parole board. Okay.
As his mother, she spends the night in jail and appears before Judge Lillard the next morning. Seems to have learned a serious lesson from just one night behind bars.
Ms. Colton, is there something you'd like to say?
Yes, I deeply apologize for what I did. I was under a lot of stress. And I deeply apologize for what I did in your court. I just needed to get out. And it's been very hard for me this year, and I know for the other family. And I'm so sorry about what I did. And I know it was wrong, and I apologize.
Okay, that's one of the best apologies in court I've ever seen. That one seemed very sincere and saying the right things, and I get it. I wonder what the judge did.
Things have to be conducted in decency and order. You can't come to court acting a fool. I know people watch a lot of shows on TV where you see different things happening in make-believe courtrooms. They give people a skewed sense of reality, but this is real life here. And we just can't have people behaving like that. It can't be tolerated. So I will modify your sentence for direct criminal contempt from 93 days to 1 day with credit for time served, and you should be released today.
God bless you. Thank you. And I apologize very solely and for the other family.
Serves 1 day.
Thank you.
And is released.
You're welcome.
Thanks for being a fan of Court Cam.
Well, I haven't been a fan of court cam, but I've showed you what a real attorney thinks of that. And this is the Lawyer Dana Show. See you in the next show.